So this is now biochemistry of vision 3. What we will be discussing in this lecture is that how the system is brought back to its original state. So hope you understood the question. I have been repeatedly telling you that in biological system, anything which gets activated has to come back to the ground state. Okay, so what we have seen in the previous lecture is that rhodopsin gets activated, and that activated rhodopsin triggers a series of enzymatic reactions, an enzymatic cascade, which leads to closing of those channels, leading to generation of nerve impulse, leading to perception of light, perception of things, right? But once activated, will it remain activated forever? And the answer is no. It will not remain activated forever. After some time, to be precise, after a second or so, the whole system has to be brought back to the original state, the ground state. So there are 3 steps in which the system will be brought back to the ground state. Please remember, it is a recurring thing in biological system. Anything which gets activated, energized, has to be brought back to the ground state, has to be brought back to its original state. So same thing will happen, same thing will be applicable here also, that activated rhodopsin, once activated, will not remain active forever. So it will be brought back to its original state so that it can receive another photon and it can trigger another cycle of nerve impulse generation, right? So 3 steps are what? There are 3 things that needs to be done for the system to be brought back to the normal state. Stage 1 is what? That first part is that enzyme PDE should be inactivated. So you know that what does PDE do? PDE is responsible for converting the cyclic GMP to GMP. So it should be inactivated. So inactivation of PDE is enough, and the answer is no. Okay, as long as you have activated rhodopsin intact, it will convert transducin to T alpha. It will activate transducin, and the activated transducin will then again activate PDE. So what do you do in second stage? You need to convert R, activated R to R, right? And in step 3, you need to generate cyclic GMP. Because it is this molecule which is responsible for keeping the channels open. So cyclic GMP is generated by the action of an enzyme, guanylate cyclase. Guanylate cyclase. Guanylate cyclase. So these are the 3 steps which needs to be done. Okay, so that activated rhodopsin and the enzymatic cascade which it has triggered can be neutralized, can become. Let us see one by one all these 3 steps in details. So let us first see this PDE inactivation of PDE, phosphodiesterase. So what I told you, if you remember yesterday, that I told you that T alpha GTP or T alpha subunit has built-in GTP is activated. Okay. So over a period of time, the bound GTP is hydrolyzed. So T alpha GTP, because of the inbuilt GTPase activity, gets converted to T alpha GDP. So T alpha GDP, as soon as GTP gets converted to T alpha GDP, the bound phosphodiesterase, PDE star, which is active, gets converted to PDEI, which is inactive. As soon as the bound GTP is hydrolyzed to GDP, because of what? Because of the GTPase activity built in the alpha subunit. Okay. So the bound phosphodiesterase which is active gets converted to inactive. Okay, this is important. As soon as the GTP gets converted to GDP, phosphodiesterase will be inactivated. So this particular part you have taken care. Okay. Second is, how do you take care of the activated rhodopsin? Because as long as activated rhodopsin is there, what is stage 2? Stage 2 is R star should be converted to R, right? Because as long as this R is there, what it is going to do? It is going to convert PDEI to PDE star through what? Through transducin. Okay. So you need to convert this R star to R. And how it is done? So it is done by the action of an enzyme called, you have R star. And if you remember the structure, when we discussed the structure of opsin, what we said that at the C terminus, it has got several serine and threonine residues, which are the potential sites of phosphorylation. If you remember the structure of rhodopsin, particularly opsin, so I told you that at the C terminus, okay, it has got several serine and threonine residues, which are the potential sites of phosphorylation. So there is an enzyme called rhodopsin kinase. What does it do? It converts it, phosphorylates several serine oblique threonine residues. Okay, so this is stage 1. Phosphorylation takes place in presence of enzyme called rhodopsin kinase, right? Rhodopsin kinase. So several serine and threonine residues at the C terminus will be phosphorylated, and then second thing is that this phosphorylated rhodopsin, it is capped. There is a capping protein called arrestin. So it is called as capping protein. Capping protein. So it will, you have this is inactive. So you have taken care of the second part also, that this activated rhodopsin should be somehow neutralized so that it no longer activates the phosphodiesterase through transducin. So this is the second part that you have taken care of. There are 2 stages. One is phosphorylation at several serine oblique threonine residues, C terminus of opsin, right? And then once it has been phosphorylated, then a capping protein arrestin will bound to it. And once you have this particular complex, it is inactive, right? Now the third is, you need to generate cyclic GMP. Third step is generation of cyclic GMP. So cyclic GMP is generated by a simple reaction. Now you have GTP, 1 guanosine triphosphate gets converted to cyclic GMP in presence of an enzyme called guanylate cyclase. The reaction is very simple. The issue is how does this guanylate cyclase activated? Okay, and the timing is very critical. See, important is all this timing should be synchronized. So how exactly this guanylate cyclase is activated? What was found out is that calcium ions play a very significant role in activation of enzyme guanylate cyclase. So how exactly calcium ion plays that significant role? Let us see this. So I'll draw two diagrams for you. So what happens? Calcium in the retinal rod cell is continuously calcium ion along with sodium, they come through a cyclic GMP gated channel. Cyclic GMP gated channel. Calcium ion continuously is being pumped in, or rather calcium ion continuously comes in into the rod cell from outside along with sodium, okay, through cyclic GMP gated channels, okay. And this influx of calcium is counterbalanced by its efflux. Okay, so calcium, one calcium and one potassium. There is a calcium sodium exchanger is there. So in lieu of sodium, this one calcium and one potassium is, channel one calcium and one potassium go out for 4 sodium ions through this is an exchanger protein, right? And as a result of that, see, typically the calcium level inside the retinal rod cell, is maintained at 500 nanomolar, right? So what happens? What happens when cyclic GMP gets hydrolyzed? So this cyclic GMP gated channels, they close. When cyclic GMP gets hydrolyzed by activated phosphodiesterase, this cyclic GMP gated channels, they close. So influx of calcium stops. Influx of calcium through these channels stops. But efflux continues. Efflux through an exchanger continues. And as a result of that, the calcium level in the rod cell, it drops down from 500 nanomolar to around 50 nanomolar. There is a 10 times decrease in the level of calcium in the retinal rod cell, right? It was 500 nanomolar original, but because of the closing of this channel, because cyclic GMP has been hydrolyzed, so these gated channels, they close, influx of calcium stops, but efflux continues. Efflux through this exchanger continues, right? As a result of that, the calcium level in the retinal rod cell drops down from 500 nanomolar to about 15 nanomolar. And this decreased calcium level activates guanylate cyclase. So see the beauty, see the interconnection, see the clinical precision in whole operations, see the timings, see the synchronization of those timings. All these activities are so nicely synchronized that exactly after a second or so, the activated rhodopsin, undergoes deactivation, and the whole thing, the whole system comes back to the normal state. It is ready to accept another photon. So there are three steps. One is inactivation of phosphodiesterase. It is inactivated because the T-alpha GTP has a built-in GTPase activity. And as soon as GTP gets hydrolyzed to GDP, the phosphodiesterase becomes inactive. Second is the activated rhodopsin. It undergoes phosphorylation at several serine and threonine residues at the C terminus of the opsin by an enzyme called rhodopsin kinase. And the phosphorylated rhodopsin in turn is capped by a capping protein called arrestin. And this complex is inactive. And the third is generation of cyclic GMP. It is generated from GTP by the action of an enzyme called guanylate cyclase. This guanylate cyclase is activated by calcium ions, by a drop in the level of calcium ion in the retinal rod cell. And how this calcium ion level is dropped in the rod cell. So I told you that calcium ion is continuously coming in to the rod cell by a cyclic GMP gated channels, right? Calcium along with sodium ion comes in, and its influx is balanced by its efflux through an exchanger. There is a calcium sodium exchanger. So one calcium ion, one potassium ion, they they are they are moved out for four sodium ions, right? But when cyclic GMP gets hydrolyzed, these channels get closed. Okay. And as a result of that, the level of calcium in the retinal rod cell comes down to from 500 nanomolar to comes down to 50 nanomolar. And this low calcium level is responsible for activation of the guanylate cyclase. So that is how the system is brought back to the ground state. Finally, towards the end of this lecture, what is meant by color vision? So not only that you can see, but you can differentiate the different colors. So there are cone cells, and what was found out is there are three types of cone cells. One which are specific for blue light, another one which are specific for green light, and there are third types which are specific for red light. The one which are specific for blue light has a lambda max of 426 nanometer. The one which are specific for green light has a lambda max of 530 nanometer. And one which are specific for red light has a lambda max of 560 nanometer. If you see this absorption spectrum, it looks like this. So it has got a lambda max of 426, 530, and 560. So the photoreceptor protein is made up of opsin plus 11 cis retinal, structurally and functionality same as that of the rod cell. So because of these three types of cone cells, you can not only see different colors, you can differentiate between the shades also. So this is how you can perceive the color vision also. So, thank you very much.